Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about, in my opinion, what I believe is the most underrated zodiac sign. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant anyway. Well, first thing up, as far as I'll start off with Aries. As far as Aries goes, okay, they're not as flamboyant as Leo, but they always like to, many want to be first, be the best, whatever they do. They can thrive on attention. Leo may just command attention and automatically get it, but Aries may have that constant need for it. They're not as loud as Leo on average, but their fearlessness and courage and fortitude really stands out strongly. So I think they are, I mean, there's certainly nothing undervalued about Aries, really. And they're going to be the ones that will stand up for others when other people will be reluctant to. I don't see Aries as being overly undervalued or underrated. So no to Aries. Now, the next sign to talk about is Taurus. Well, Taurus can be a prime candidate for being the most underrated zodiac sign, given that their strength can be very quiet and subtle. They often, they're very constant. Taurus is about stolidness. They often will stand by people, be very loyal and steadfast. And it's something that a lot of times people won't really notice. But I think the thing about Taurus, though, when they do leave somebody and they disconnect themselves from somebody, the people will notice that that loyalty, that steadfastness, that persistence and reliability as a friend is surely missed. And they have much latent energy behind their endurance. I think people do recognize that and see these little things about Taurus that could stand out. So I'll say no to Taurus, but likely no to Taurus. I mean, as far as the most underrated zodiac sign. Now, given that, now the next sign, Gemini. Well, Gemini, I think really could stand out because, they are very versatile, very multifaceted. It's hard for them not to be recognized or undervalued. Now, their versatility, I think, is what can stand out to many, and many people could appreciate the fact that Geminis are often the ones that are about job variety and can do more things practically simultaneously than the other signs on average. And their mental agility, their quick responses to things could stand out very blatantly. So I would say it'd be hard to say that Gemini is really the most underrated zodiac sign. Now, let's talk about Cancer. Now, Cancer, they're very sympathetic, nurturing. Their tendencies can be pretty obvious, but Cancer can often be seen as others very passive and weak. But the thing about it is, in their own way, they can make their argument for being the strongest zodiac sign, because I think Cancer, of all the signs, might actually have the ability to love more unequivocally than those other zodiac signs. And that is a gift that is given to very strong people, actually. And the thing about Cancer too is, a lot of Cancer energy could be about lamenting, brooding, pouting, lamenting over the past and past wrongs or what have you. And if you don't appreciate Cancer, they'll often remind you about it later on at some point. They might not tell you right away, but they might brood and think about it, lament over it for a protracted period, and then let you know about it, that you didn't appreciate me. So they kind of remind you that they need to be appreciated, so, and let others be cognizant of it. So I don't think it's the most I would not like to put this, I wouldn't put this as the most underrated zodiac sign. But anyway, now as far as Leo goes, well, Leo can be known for their flamboyancy. They can be ostentatious, very attention-seeking. They have often a tremendous presence. It's very hard for others to be oblivious to Leo. They often will be the ones that will stand out in the crowd. Their talents can be very obvious, known very blatantly to others, and it's hard for them to be overlooked or unrecognized. Many Leos may either boast about what they're able to do, or others can just see this energy very loudly, because Leo just commands attention. They automatically can get it in many instances. So I say no. Leo, I don't see as the most underrated zodiac sign. Now, anyway, Well, the sign I want to talk about is Virgo. Virgos can certainly be a prime candidate. They could be um, often very reticent, very humble. They're actually, in a lot of ways, I think, as far as their humbleness, they're really like the antithesis of Leo. Virgo is a sign that's very self-effacing, and the thing about it is they actually have a lot of good positive qualities, but sometimes it's overlooked by the fact they could be very judgmental and critical. They could actually be very analytical, adept at problem solving, organization, being neat, tidy. But the thing about it is they often are not recognized because a lot of times people will harp on the negative of Virgo, sadly. So I think Virgo can be a candidate certainly for being the most underrated zodiac sign. Now, anyway, now getting to Libra. Now, Libra can certainly be a viable candidate. Now, like Virgo, they could be very humble. They're not one to boast about their achievements. But the thing about with Libra is they could really stand out and ingratiate themselves in social groups, which could be obvious to people. They're actually the ability to be a strong mediator and reconcile differences with others. Now, in a negative manifestation, Libra can also be the quintessential relationship disruptor. They're certainly a candidate, I believe, though, for the most underrated zodiac sign, at least in my perception and opinion. But we'll find out if I choose them at the end of the video. Now, Scorpio, I mean, even though their energy can often be very subtle, it's not as vociferous or as loud as Leo, they can actually be readily recognized, their strong attributes and qualities. Now, again, not as vociferous as Leo, but they have that ability to wield power very strongly. And you look at Scorpio, they can be very willful. They have a very indomitable spirit and very strong willpower that may often be unbreakable. They are often very resilient. The Scorpio may lose battles to people, but they ultimately, in most cases, they will emerge victorious as far as the war goes with somebody. They have this strong ability to transform themselves and others as well. And I think this is very noticeable, and I think people do very strongly appreciate Scorpio. So it'd be hard for me to really say that they're the most underrated zodiac sign. Now, the next sign I want to talk about is Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius, I mean, they could be the consummate, called them the pepper upper of the zodiac. They often have a very jocular, jovial nature. They could bring life to the most despondent and disconsolate group of people. They're often the practical jokesters, and they bring a very figurative happy potion to others. These qualities can be very rarely unnoticed. They could be the ones that could be the life of the party, not in the way Leo is, in the way where they're attracting and commanding all this attention in the showy way, but what Sagittarius can do as far as being whimsical and as far as being the humorous element of things, they could be that life of that party for bringing very comical energy and making people very happy and bringing enjoyment to others. So anyway, but so for me, I think they're very much appreciated, and I think they often lauded for this ability. You might see Sagittarius be those people that are often the stand-up comics. So I don't really, it's hard for me to say that Sagittarius would be the most underrated zodiac sign. Now, let's go to Capricorn. Now, Capricorn have a very stern and serious disposition. Ironically enough, Howard Stern, the legendary shock jock, is a Capricorn sun. But anyway, they get a very stern and serious disposition, but Capricorn is exceptional, often very exceptionally ambitious. They often work harder and more laboriously than people that are even of a bigger physical stature than them, people that are bigger and stronger than them. They have a very, very strong tenacity in terms of career-related matters and ambitions, and they often work harder to attain that pinnacle of success as far as their career matters go, more so than others. Capricorn is often that sign that you'll see them putting in more hours on a comparable salary than others will. And I think this is something that doesn't necessarily go unnoticed, but since Capricorn is often a very quiet demeanor, they actually could be a candidate for the most underrated zodiac sign, but we'll find out later in the video if I choose them or not. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. Anyway, now going to Aquarius. Now, Aquarius often has strong ingenuity. They are ones, this could very readily stand out to others. Now, there's not, they don't have that roar like Leo does, or not as flamboyant as, like, say, Leo, but the fact their originality and sometimes even the non-conforming nature can really stand out to others, their idiosyncratic behavior even. And some people will appreciate their non-conforming behavior because they actually are willing to say, well, just because so many other people do something in such and such manner, that doesn't mean I have to conform and do this. And I think their humanitarianism, their selflessness, and their nature does really shine very strongly. Their ability to blend in, do things in group-related matters can really stand out. And I think others often appreciate Aquarius for this. And even though it's a fixed sign, they're very amicable. It's very friendly energy. So it's hard to say that Aquarius would be the sign that would be the most unappreciated. Now, getting to the last sign of the zodiac, now Pisces. Well, Pisces certainly can be a prime candidate. The Pisces is known to be very passive, but they are ones that will often stand up for their friends in subtle ways. They may do things behind the scenes. They could be like that ghost rider, for example. They may not, they're not ones that are going to command recognition. They don't clamor accolades and adulation from others, but they can, Pisces can often be very altruistic and self-sacrificing. They are ones, to me, that can certainly be a prime candidate for being the most, you could say, the most underrated zodiac sign, because they are very often reticent and humble like Virgo, and they're not ones that are actually going out and looking for attention. Now, anyway, I'm going to choose the sign that I think is the most underrated. I'm actually going to give the nod to Virgo, a tad over Pisces, because I give them a slight nod over Pisces mainly because on average Virgo is actually more industrious than Pisces. It's a sign that corresponds with work, and I think Pisces is a little bit more lackadaisical, a little bit more lethargic on average compared to Virgo. Pisces, again, they could be very self-sacrificing, but Virgo is very hardworking. But Virgo, despite the very strong work ethic, I think they can often go under the radar. Understand that Leo, zodiac sign Leo, often falls on the 12th house cusp of restrictions and limitations in a solar or natal chart for Virgo. Virgo goes out of the way not to be overly flamboyant or ostentatious or seek recognition or accolades for their achievements. They may often deflect the credit to somebody else and say, oh, somebody else gave me that idea. This was something I read about. This didn't really take that much brain power, etc. Again, Virgo can be very shy, reticent, retiring, very humble. They're often they could be the most self-effacing of the zodiac signs. They are often ones that will do all this laborious work and won't really necessarily be noticed. They could be those ones that work in a warehouse or work somewhere where they're maybe not in some leadership capacity. Virgo can often thrive on a subordinate or subservient role, and I think for a lot of that, for those reasons, it makes them very underrated. And I think what happens is you'll have a lot of people that will over-accentuate or overemphasize Virgo's negative traits, the persnicketyness, being overly pedantic or overly verbose, using maybe the times they might use too many words to describe something when something can be described in a more concise or put more succinctly. But I think Virgo, what it is though, people have to understand, they have such strong I mean, they have a lot of very good traits as well. They're often very analytical, very intellectual, detail-oriented. They'll be the ones often that will clean up and pick up after others and not even say anything, even though they're not really, it may not be their responsibility or their duty. But Virgo is the sign, of course, that correlates with work and employment. So they just have this embedded, just so ingrained in them to be doing things and being of service to others. But they don't really necessarily seek the adulation or praise for this. And I think for a lot of it, for those reasons, this is a sign, I mean, that are very, is somebody, I mean, Virgo is often ones that are obsequious. They're ones that will often really want to be there and do things to help others and be very helpful as well. They're also a sign which a lot of people don't see it like this, but Virgo can be very scrupulous. They're the ones that might likely be the most ethical of the zodiac signs. They're often averse to coarse or crude behavior, profanity, opprobrious behavior, or what have you. They are, but a lot of times this goes under the radar because Virgo is often what is emphasized with Virgo sometimes is a critical and judgmental nature and complaining about things. But often what Virgo is doing is giving constructive criticism and trying to be helpful and show somebody maybe the right way to do something as opposed to the erroneous or the wrong or incorrect way of doing it. So anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment for what I believe is the most underrated zodiac sign. Stay tuned next time where I'm going to be giving you my Leo May 2019 horoscope forecast, part 2 of 2. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.